Hey, it's Drybear. Continue our series of covering all the weapons in the First Descendant, and while I'm cooking some of the few remaining general round ultimate weapons, we're moving on to impact rounds, which have some different mods for us to play around with. Now, the good news is basically all of the hand cannons are incredibly good. I would definitely say that the two ultimate level hand cannons and the one purple missing from this list here are going to be the best. So these are kind of the lower end of the hand cannons, but they're all still good. And if you wanted to use these same general hand cannon groupings, you would pick up immediate execution for the highest DPS, though Assassin's Edge does outperform it, but it has different weightings, so we're going to cover that with a different sheet here. There's a couple things to note about hand cannon, actually a lot of things to note about hand cannons and how they function as a relative to like a general rounds weapon or a high rate of fire weapon. They generally have some of the highest base firearm attack of any weapon in the game, and that goes along with like sniper rifles, and they have a couple different ways to play, and it depends on whether you're going to be using it for its full magazine, or if you're just going to be switching over to it, taking pot shots and switching back, because it does have some interesting options. So let's talk about the weapons before we dive into the specific weighting and all of that. The first thing is that they all have pretty decent accuracy and very low recoil, which makes them very good for precision shot. Most of them have pretty decent crit chance and crit damage, and all of them have very good base weak point scaling as well. So generally, when you're using a hand cannon, you want to be aiming for the weak point as much as possible. However, there's kind of this idea around swapping to a hand cannon, using it once or twice and swapping it back, because we do have some interesting options, like with dopaminergic activate, which gives you a shot at max level. This will give you a 5-second cooldown, so you get a big dose of crit chance and crit damage, and then it goes on cooldown for 5 seconds. If you're going to be using the weapon normally, like actually just holding it and shooting it, it's not very good. You'll see on the waiting list it's not that strong, but if you're just going to be popping over to it occasionally, it does gain some more value on top of that. Another thing to keep in mind is that it does allow you to equip the Sharp Precision Shot Ultimate mod, the special mod. However, the way Sharp Precision Shot works, as we saw with the machine guns and the assault rifles, is that it's while you're holding down the trigger, you gain the buff. However, this just doesn't work for semi-automatic weapons. If you hold down the trigger on a revolver, it will shoot once and will stop firing. There's no automatic fire for these. So you get absolutely zero value from Sharp Precision Shot on semi-automatic weapons right now. I was hoping that, like, at the very least, this would just continue to shoot even at its semi-auto pacing, and we'd still get value from it. But as of right now, you do not. And so if you're looking to use this, I wouldn't recommend it on any of the semi-automatic weapons that just can't hold down the trigger the whole time. So your best option is still actually going to be real life fighter. In this case, mental focus actually has decent value, mainly because you'll be able to, like, you can take a shot, wait, take a shot, wait, take a shot, wait, and you're still stacking up mental focus this way. The downside is that you lose value as soon as you reload, because mental focus will fall off, whereas with real life fighter, you can still reload in between. So if you have real life fighter on for the firearm damage, you can just hit the weak point, hit the weak point, hit the weak point, hit the weak point, and just keep stacking. And if you reload, as long as you reload in time, you can keep stacking the value of that weapon, which makes it even stronger. So I think real life fighter, unfortunately, is still your best bet when it comes to special mods for the impact hand cannons. The other thing that's worth mentioning, and this is something that a lot of people, especially if they're not used to semi-automatic weapons in shooters, is that you can control how much damage you're dishing out, both by your aim and accuracy, but also by how fast you're clicking. Since it is a pure semi-automatic weapon, if you click and hold down, or you use your controller and you hold the trigger down, it's only going to shoot once, it won't keep shooting. However, the general fire rate, I see a lot of people using semi-autos like this, where they'll go and take a shot and take a shot, but realistically, you want to try and get as best of accuracy as you can while still maximizing out on the fire rate, which means you can, if you spam, shoot very quickly with semi-automatic weapons. And I encourage you to do so, because if you spend a lot of time lining up the perfect shot and then shooting, you're still going to lose out on DPS. In a game like this that is a looter shooter, time is of the essence. Every second you're burning, it's all about getting as much damage into the target as you possibly can for every second that you're in the battle, especially when it comes to Colossi. So I would recommend learning to fire as quickly as possible with the hand cannons, but that being said, your accuracy is still super valuable because they scale incredibly well with weak point. So I'd love to know on here for Sharp Precision Shot, if they end up changing it so that Sharp Precision Shot does work on semi-automatic weapons, it would have a weighting of about 66.8% or 67%, which does put it pretty high. It means that it would actually outperform Sweeping Squad if you wanted to use it, but as of right now, it does 0 because it doesn't do anything for you at all. overall. Now, one of the cool things about the impact round weapons is they have a mod that others don't called target detection. This gives you crit damage and weak point, which is absolutely beautiful for hand cannons. It is amazingly good, and in most cases you will be running target detection instead of better concentration like we normally would with the general round, so keep that in mind. So you still want to be running real life fighter, action and reaction, rifling, reinforcement. You still want to be running crit chance. Like crit chance and crit damage for most revolvers are insanely good because they scale so well with it. So from that standpoint, we want firearm attack, elemental damage from firearm attack, which is the special case here for elemental enhancement, crit damage, fire rate, and crit chance, reload, rounds, weak point, and then percent LE attack, which is pretty trash on this. For the reroll priority up here, you want to get firearm attack base, then make sure you get crit damage and crit chance, and bonus attack verse is going to be your next best. Typically, if you're going to be using a hand cannon, you probably want to build it for killing Colossi anyway, because it's so good. Colossi and elites as well. So you could do like flat elemental damage if you wanted universal, or you could do bonus attack versus Colossi, but the Colossi, like the bonus attack stat, is going to give you more overall because you have to specialize in which one you're choosing. And as always, if you didn't know, the left side here, the reason I put so many mods and their relative weighting over here on enhanced catalyst priority is so that you can create your own build. Every single time I put out a build like this, people say, well, what if I like having more accuracy? What if I like having movement speed? What if I like having this or that or this or that thing? Just go ahead and take the ideal DPS build, find the thing that's lowest on this list based on the amount that it provides, which would be Recycling Genius, and slot that out for something that you prefer. So if you wanted to have Hawkeye for accuracy, you wanted to have some kind of accuracy mod, some kind of recoil mod, which you shouldn't really need on hand cannons because they don't fire fast enough for the bloom or the recoil to affect you that much. But if you wanted accuracy, you certainly could swap out Recycling Genius for Hawkeye or one of the purple mods that has accuracy on it as well, and a little bit more damage following the stat priority here. But all things considered, the revolvers here outperform most of their comparative brethren, and you'll see when we cover the Assassin's Edge, which has a different weighting, that it's even better. I would put Assassin's Edge on level with things like Eternal Willpower or with like Tamer if you have good accuracy. If you wanted to play a hand cannon instead, the Assassin's Edge is insanely good, and that's what we're going to be covering next. But as always, if you have questions for me, or you want to know, or you want to request on what we're going to cover next, drop that down below in the comments. See you in the next one. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.